Alright, here we go, third take. Got me breathing with dragons. I'll crack the egg in your basket, you bastard. I'm Marilyn Manson with madness. Now just imagine the magic I like to ask is don't ask for. He did. I killed him. Bitch.
5 years ago, I made this piece, and it was the first time that I had ever done any sort of photo manipulation or 3D compositing on anything before. I realized how long it's been, and in that time, how much I've learned as an artist with lighting and editing and shooting and 3D and compositing and all the stuff that goes into this. And so I thought, why not test myself to see how much I've actually learned and see if I can do it better. This time though, instead of creating an exact one-to-one copy like I did back in 2020, I've decided to take the idea of it and expand it out into a full animated sequence.
And so here's the plan. As I'm getting that underway, I'm gonna run through the 10 most important things that I've learned in that time that I wish I knew when I started. Let's not waste any time.
For sure. Amen.
Reference is better than tutorials. I'm not trying to be Marvel or HBO or these huge studios that have hundreds of people in them. That doesn't even really make sense since I'm just one person. But that doesn't mean that I can't take something away or learn something from watching these shows, and specifically asking why while I'm watching these. Why do I think that worked? Why do I think that didn't work? Why was I emotionally impacted by that shot? Or why did they choose those colors? Or why did they do that practically on set versus doing it in post with visual effects? I may not always come up with an answer, but the act of asking these questions sort of shows me where I'm at in my understanding and my shortcomings. I really believe that if you can find your stride learning from reference rather than just only tutorials, you'll go a lot further in your creative career. And that's not to say that tutorials are bad and you shouldn't use tutorials. I still watch them all the time. They're very useful. But if I'm not asking why, then my creativity is just constrained to the videos that I'm watching. Also, really quickly, I just want to mention that I have a Patreon covering both theory and tutorials, but I'll save that for the end of the video. And that's where this project comes into play. Let's run through a quick history. 2018, ODESZA drops a single called Loyal with this cover art. Find the artist, Shoutout, who made the original titled King. Fast forward to 2020, it's lockdown and I'm stuck at home, so I try my hand at recreating this piece with me as the subject. This is the result. None of this had any specific tutorial. It was up to me to just use this single piece of reference to see how far I could go. And what ended up happening is the obstacles that I ran across along the way that I got over ended up becoming 100 times more rewarding because I'm the one that figured them out. This is why reference is so much better for your learning. Embrace the discomfort of not knowing something yet so that you can figure it out on your own.
So I'm in the pre-production stage right now. I did a little bit of testing to see if the crown works still in 3D. And it looks good. It looks like I have a little bit more expertise with it now, which is nice. It's a good start. I started laying out some text and a timeline to give myself some timing and a sort of mental storyboard for how it'll end up looking. What I want to try and do is comp myself into this 3D world that I have to build. And this is pretty ambitious because I've never used 3D to this extent. The biggest challenge that I'm facing right now is the main crown shot, where I basically want to have the crown kind of slowly land on my head. And with that, that would cause, shadows on the side and also like some dynamics with the hair. Like it would be matting down, kind of like holding down the hair, right? So I thought if I make a sort of temporary crown out of some basic materials, if I were to then later in 3D track the fake crown that I'm putting on my head, I think that it would work well. And it would save me a lot of effort of having to figure out what I'm doing with the hair and the shadows and all that. That's where I'm at with it right now. I need to figure out the wardrobe as well. Yeah, there's a lot of little things to do, but we're getting rolling with this. So yeah.
I'm combining 2 and 3 into this category of lighting and sound because I neglected both for far too long and both ended up having the most significant emotional impact on the work that I was creating. So let's start with the first one. Lighting matters more than your camera. Of course, there are exceptions to this, but even just having a basic understanding of good lighting is so much more valuable than having a super expensive camera with no understanding of how to light your shots at all. I'll prove this point. This is shot with my Sony camera, which I shoot all of my videos on, and this is shot with my iPhone 13 Pro, no log profile or anything, but with intentionally setting up my lights. Makes a big difference, right? And the second part, sound is half the experience. There's no better way to really illustrate this than to go watch some of your favorite scenes from movies or TV with the sound completely muted. See how it feels, give it a try. You might be thinking like, obviously audio is important, every video has audio, but that's not the bar we should be setting. Sound is equally as important as your visuals. I made a whole video dedicated to my entire sound design philosophy and how to actually sound design, so for now, I'll leave you with some rapid fire tips. Layer your sounds to make new sounds. Try reversing your sounds. Try using ambient sounds in place of music to create more mood. Don't be afraid to manipulate your sounds with effects like reverb or equalizer. Use silence intentionally. And finally, use a quality asset library. This is the perfect segue to say that this video is sponsored by Artlist. Now, if you haven't used them yet, let me explain why I chose them over everybody else. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to test a lot of options for sound effect and music libraries, but nothing seems to come close to what Artlist has to offer. It makes it really easy to tell you about them because I genuinely believe I'm working with the best in the business. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The quality of what you put in can make or break an entire project. Their seemingly endless library of sound effects and music solves this problem and actually makes it fun to explore the possibilities. All the sound effects and music from the end piece are from Artlist, and since you're sticking around for the sponsor segment, I'll give you a little sneak preview of what that sounds like. But it doesn't stop there, not even close. Not only do they have an ever-expanding video library, which I actually used for the opening shot of this very video, but they also recently expanded it into LUTs for color grading your footage, and even expanded it into
voiceover from whatever text you input.
So although this section is about the importance of sound, you're getting so much more by choosing Artlist. If you use my link to sign up for an annual plan, you get 2 months for free, and it supports me, which I'm very grateful for. I'll leave my sign up link down below so you can check out the plans they have to offer, as well as a collection of my all-time favorite sound effects to get you going once you sign up. Thank you to Artlist, and let's get back to the video.
I got materials here, aluminum wire and string and ball bearings and hot glue and all that. And so, yeah, let's cue the build montage. Now presenting the final product. As you can see, it rests just perfectly there on the side. Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a mess, because it is. It's not the best craft, but it'll do. The ball bearings inside add weight so that when it's actually being dropped down onto my head, it interacts properly like a crown actually would. And then also these strings here are for whoever's holding it. We'll hold the strings and just kind of lower it down onto my head. This is the best solution that I came up with, and if it doesn't work, I'm kind of screwed, but I think it will. A little optimism is good here. This went well. Look at that. That crown.
Messy project files will slow you down. This one is quick. Please, I promise it's worth the extra time. I know a good amount of you are probably allergic to this. I've worked with people who are like this, but in the long run, it is so much more valuable to at least make folders. Just keep yourself organized, because then in the future, it's possible to revisit old projects like this, where I was able to grab the original crown that I had made for this project. So just try and be organized. It looks way more professional too. Realize that problem solving is a learnable skill set. For whatever reason, a lot of people seem to separate the skills they've learned from their ability to problem solve, as if problem solving is some innate talent. But it's not. It's a form of your creativity. The thing with problem solving is that it can feel overwhelming, kind of just freeze you in your tracks. Like, what is the right way to fix this? But that's the wrong approach. There is no right way to fix anything. There's either fixing it or not fixing it. The trick here is to stop asking if something is a solution and to instead present it as a hypothesis or a statement. If I try this, it will fix the problem. Test it out with what you know, and if it doesn't, then do some research, update your hypothesis, and try it again. Do not leave that lesson unlearned though. If you're walking away from what happened without asking why, then you're missing the entire point of testing a hypothesis. A hypothesis isn't for proving that you're right, it's for exploring what's true. Remember that.
All right, let's talk for a second because a lot has gone wrong. This is actually my second day of shooting for this, just the simple 4 shots that I needed. And so I want to walk through what went wrong and how I even got here. So the other night I actually came up here after it was dark to come shoot because I would have controlled lighting with my lighting setup and everything. And what ended up happening is I just started doing the first shot after setting up the green screen and everything, and I could not get the take right. I did 42 takes. I'm not even kidding, which is ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous, and it is ridiculous. And so obviously I was really frustrated, but I ended up just accepting that evening as a test shoot and just for data collection so that I could improve later on. And so it's a couple days later, and I'm actually shooting during the day, so I have some additional natural light here from the skylights. It just goes to show that it doesn't matter how much practice you have, it doesn't matter how much experience, there will always be unexpected factors that you have to deal with. But I'm feeling a lot better today. So I'm gonna get some shooting going.
Timing and pacing is better than complexity. A simple, well-paced edit is so much more professional and just feels a lot better than an overcomplicated, poorly paced one. I always end up thinking about high-end brands that keep things simple, and it really is a testament to them leaning into their confidence in what they're showing to tell the story that they're trying to tell. So a lot of high-end fashion brands and things like that. We are in an age of fighting for attention spans in short-form content, but thinking that's the only answer is denying the intellect of your audience. So flooding your piece with a million animations with no intention just to grab onto someone's attention span is not how you make high-end content. There's a difference between technically impressive and creatively refined, and I find there to be a lot of limits in just the former. So focus on refining your pacing first, because then scaling up to more complex pieces becomes easier to understand. It's really important to get in your head that simple does not mean bad.
I kind of forgot that there's a wide shot that shows my full body, and so you gotta see my feet, and I don't have all black shoes. Like, I don't want to put on sneakers. That would kind of ruin the whole thing. I'm just gonna wear black socks and hope that no one notices. Well, now you know, but if someone sees it unsuspecting on Instagram or something like that, they won't notice. But it's our little Easter egg. Let's call it that.
When in doubt, particles and smoke. Okay, this one doesn't work all the time, but it has helped me create depth in so many different shots, even ones that are fully motion graphics. The trick here is to place your flat assets of particles and or smoke in Z space with a little bit of camera movement. Then just apply a blending mode like screen or add or something like that. And then only if you need it, use the Three Musketeers, levels, blur, and opacity. Boom, that's it, done. Next, you don't have to learn what others say is right. Specialization is not limitation. If you've given something an honest shot and it doesn't feel like it's clicking with you, you don't have to force it. Early on in my freelance career, a client told me that I should really pick up character animation and that it would be very useful for me to have in my arsenal of what I know because I could get more jobs and that sort of thing. That might be true, but the problem is I don't enjoy character animation. I don't find it fun, it doesn't really click with my brain, and it's just not something I care to put effort into learning. So what he said is probably true. It would open the door for more jobs, but what good are those jobs if I'm hating my life while working on them? Besides, there's so many avenues of possible job roles in this industry. There is a path that is possible to carve, leaning into something that you actually enjoy. Not to get too philosophical here for this video, but what's the point in pushing for something that you don't even enjoy?
I'm almost done, but I think I need some help.
Okay, hey.
All right, everything is shot except for the final piece, the final...
I can...
I think I need some help from...
Wait, I can help.
So a big part of my platform is to put on up-and-coming YouTubers. This is my brother, Nathaniel Drew. He has a channel himself. Yeah, all right, let's shoot. Let's go. We're losing light. This is the shot that we're basically replicating. Okay. So this is what you need to do. You're gonna stand on this stool, and then when you're ready to lower, stop it, and then just go straight down.
3, 2, 1.
We're nearing the end here, but before I go through the last couple tricks and the final reveal, I feel like it would be wrong to not show you how the final crown shot actually came together. So first, tracking the crown using tracking points that I added, which I'm really glad I did because it made it a lot easier, and then just generating that tracking data into a null. I used Mocha for tracking all this, keying out the green screen and getting rid of the blue from the headband, which is the whole point of doing it in blue paper. And then what's not shown here is that I actually ran the footage through a free app called Switchlight Studio that I talk about more in a moment, which just allows me to make my 2D footage interact with the 3D scene and lighting. So I'm just assembling those passes here, placing myself where I need to be placed in front of the model, and then actually bringing in that tracking data that I got from After Effects, which is really cool. You can actually bring in After Effects layers. So I did the null and a solid, so I could actually place the solid at the same position that I was, just helped with positioning. Finally, the most nerve-wracking part, which was testing the crown, actually seeing if it works. When I actually saw it actually working, I don't know, I got so excited that it was actually working. It needed fixing, but it was good enough that I could see it coming together. And then just a final pass of positioning and scaling and rotation and just fixing that final ending moment, which I won't spoil here. You'll see it very soon at the very end. Get comfortable fixing bad footage. This project is actually a prime example of that. So even though I set up my whole 3D scene beforehand and I checked the lighting so that I could recreate it in real life, when I actually went to composite my footage in the 3D scene, it looked bad. It looked goofy as hell. And so I went into problem solving mode, and I ended up finding this free software called Switchlight Studio that actually creates these height and normal maps and these necessary things for 3D to actually catch the lighting from in the 3D scene on my green screen footage, which is just crazy to me that we can even do this now, but that's not the point. The point is that there's always something that you can find to fix the footage. I didn't have to just throw everything away and scrap the project. I just had to go into problem solving mode. And this actually leads perfectly into my next point, which is the best artists cheat. As an example, I actually had a lot of issues with noise in some of my shots after I rendered out from Cinema 4D. And this is something that you could fix by throwing more samples at it. There's technical solutions to it, but I didn't have the time for that. And so my solution was to just blur those sections. And is that the right way to do it? Well, what does it matter? What is the right way to do it anyway? I mean, if it works in the final shot and no one notices and it looks great, then like, that's what matters, right? And anyway, if you ever watch behind the scene breakdowns or VFX studios talk about their work, this is what a lot of the industry is even built on. So yeah, those are my 10 pieces of advice. I hope they help. And if you're feeling stuck, feel free to come back to this video because you'll probably get something different from a second or third watch through. There's not much more to say except thanks for watching and enjoy my take on 5 years of growth.